Hello, this is Allison Siborowski. I'm excited to share with you today some thoughts on how reframing one's thinking can build resilience. Let's get started. What do you think is happening in this photo? I've used this image in many training sessions and have only ever heard negative assumptions. The most common responses I receive are, the boat is sinking and people are trying to save the passengers, or everyone is trying to escape and fit as many people on the boat as they can. In every response, the assumption is that this is a negative crisis situation. So, what do you think is happening? In reality, this is a photo from National Geographic of a floating market bringing supplies and food to a small village. This is a time of great excitement when everyone gathers and goes out to greet the merchants. So why does this matter? It might seem like a silly example, but the photo in the previous slide helps illustrate that our first assumptions can often be wrong and are often negative. Research shows that we have a great deal of control over whether we experience situations as traumatic or not. The situation itself does not determine whether we experience trauma, but the individual's perceptions and experience of the event. Researchers now call these events potentially traumatic events, as the event itself does not determine one's response. Konnikova, in her article called How People Learn to be Resilient, discusses how individuals who are resilient are able to go through difficult events without being emotionally traumatized. Jones at Duke University's Department of Learning and Organizational Development says that resilience can be learned and built through attitudes, behaviors, and social supports. So how can we build these abilities? In the next few minutes, I will introduce a few tactics that can help one learn to reframe difficult situations and build towards resilience. Last year, I had the privilege of hearing Angela Duckworth give the keynote address at the LeadingAge annual meeting in Indianapolis. Angela discussed her research around the idea of grit. This idea has been described by other researchers, including Kouzes and Posner, as having passion and perseverance for very long-term goals and having stamina. When Angela spoke, she talked about frustration and uncertainty being something we should look for and lean into rather than avoid. Frustration means you are doing something you cannot yet do, she says. I wonder how often in our lives we avoid situations because of fear of failure, yet researchers say that challenge and difficulty are the places where we learn and grow the most. Again, Kouzes and Posner state that challenge is your leadership training ground. We should look for and lean into the places and situations that challenge us because it is where we will grow and develop. So do you believe that you or your circumstances affect your achievements? Research shows that individuals who are resilient act from an internal locus of control. Daft describes this as believing that one's actions determine what happens to them. Konnikova discusses an internal locus of control being demonstrated when individuals believe that they and not their circumstances affect their achievements. Those who act from an internal locus of control take ultimate responsibility for their life. They demonstrate personal accountability. In his book, The Question Behind the Question, John Miller provides tools for building one's personal accountability. Miller says that to demonstrate personal accountability, one must ask better questions. So what does this mean? Miller discusses that our first reactions are often negative. We saw an example of this with the photo in the first slide. Because of this tendency to assume the negative, Miller says that we ask incorrect questions. He says that one can practice personal accountability through asking better questions. Better questions are ones that focus on one's own actions and responsibility rather than putting the blame or responsibility on someone else. An example of this might be, instead of saying, when is everyone else going to start changing? Asking, what can I do to make a difference today? One individual who had a powerful ability to reframe was Corrie ten Boom. Corrie is now known for her remarkable role in hiding and protecting Jews during World War II, surviving 11 months of captivity by the Nazis, and ministering to the German people after the war ended. Corrie saw the world as her classroom. Her unwavering faith and commitment to the Lord helped her constantly reframe hardship as a potential opportunity for growth. One of my favorite quotes from Corrie's book, Tramp for the Lord, is, "The life of a Christian is an education for higher service. No athlete complains when the training is hard. He thinks of the game or the race." I wonder how differently we would see challenges in our daily lives if we truly adopted Corrie's perspective. So, the next time we see this situation at work, what will we do? Will we assume the worst or try to reframe? Will we lean into our discomfort from the challenge? Will we try to ask what we can do to make a difference, or will we ask why everyone else isn't doing their jobs? I hope to work on continuing to shift my thinking. I hope you'll join me.